Hello again, and welcome to another episode of Training Bytes. My name is Mike Gibb from accountsrecovery.net, and with me, as always, is Mary Shores from Mary Shores Communications, who is here to offer more great insight and advice. Mary Shores is a second-generation agency owner, a best-selling author, and creator of the Collection Advantage online program, which is designed to help collectors create and execute high-converting scripting to increase their cash flow and decrease complaints. Mary, thanks again for joining us. Looking forward to today's conversation on 3 things consumers wish collectors knew. Why don't you shed some light on what those things might be?
Yeah, I would love to. I don't know about you, but I really geeked out on the CFPB report on financial well-being. I mean, it's a 48-page report, and I'm just the kind of person that took a real deep dive into that report. And so I've trying to create some content around it. And the first thing is, I think that consumers really wish that collectors knew that, just like everybody, they have their own fears and frustrations in life. It's very difficult for them. And, the CFPB financial well-being report solidified the fact that how they feel, it's frustrating for them to feel when they don't have control over their day-to-day and their month-to-month finances. Some other things of that are like, think about how you would feel if you have to take a job that's perhaps undesirable because they're at a level where, working is fundamental. I mean, working is fundamental to all of us, but, they have to make work choices, not on what's meaningful and fulfilling, but in order to get the bills paid. So that's just a few things to understand is, what would that feel like if you were on the other side and you had no control over your day-to-day and your month-to-month finances? So that's one of the first things.
That's, I think that's, something that everybody, I mean, the number of people who can sort of, who love what they do and do what they do without really sort of needing to care about money is probably a very small percentage. So I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but collectors should be able to put themselves in consumer shoes when sort of, trying to convey that emotion, correct?
And it's so true. And what I want to add to that, what you just said is so important, is because that's the beginning understanding of bringing empathy into the conversation around debt. One of my missions has been for a very long time that I want to change the conversation that we're having in this country around debt. And, it's the big empathy word. Everyone's talking about it. And I'm often saying, like, you can't just tell a collector to be empathetic. You can't just tell a leader to be empathetic. It's really important to understand what that is. And you're right. I think that every one of us can relate to those particular struggles about work or about feeling out of control with your finances. The difference is whether or not it's top of mind while we're doing our job. Whether or not we are taking that information and using it to relate to the consumer, or whether it's just something we're aware of because, we've experienced it in our life. And so there's this powerful thing that happens when you begin to just understand what another person is going through, because then you'll start to see their reactions and their behavior. So say they're being a little bit irrational with you on the phone. When you can start to see their behavior as something that's coming from their own frustrations, then it's easier to take that personally. You know what I mean?
Sure. And I would think that much like, everybody has fears and fears. Everybody also, I think, have needs and dreams. So is that something else that collectors can use as they try to relate to consumers?
Oh my gosh, yes. The other part of this that I really love to sink my teeth into is that just like just like us, consumers have their own dreams. They think about what it would feel like to not be in debt anymore. Having a debt is a psychological and emotional burden. And it's a burden that actually kind of it creates a wedge between that person and living the life of their dreams. And so they still have dreams, they still have desires. And so even, understanding that they have something in life that they want, whether that's to get the debt paid off, whether that's to put their child through college, whether that's to experience a vacation, at some point we'll all go on vacation again, right? But, just kind of think about that. They really wish you knew that they have their own dreams and desires.
And I think, sort of kind of taking that to the logical next step, nobody, well, I don't want to say nobody, but for the most part, I think it's safe to say that nobody, goes into debt voluntarily. A lot of the people, they're in difficult situations, and they're just trying to get by. So, is that something else that collectors should be trying to communicate, that they understand that component of the situation that a consumer might be in?
Absolutely. When you are in a situation, and collectors are talking to consumers all day, every day. I was a collector myself for many, many years. So I know what that can be like when you've just got call after call after call. And the thing is that those consumers really want you to know that at the end of the day, they're doing the best they can. Just like you, consumers are doing the best they can. Nobody, like you said, nobody intends to go in debt. Nobody wakes up and thinks, oh, I'm going to just do the worst job I can on my finances today. I don't think anyone has that thought. But, they have some, according to that CFPB report, they don't always have the financial literacy. They don't always have the same opportunities. They don't always have a way to parcel out the debt. And it becomes this feeling that even if they pay this debt off, there's just going to be another one right around the corner. Just like you, they are doing the best they can. And I just think that that's so powerful to think about in a consumer and a collector relationship. And I think it's important to even relay this type of information to our clients, letting our clients know that these consumers, they're doing the best they can. They really, truly are.
So I pick up the phone, I start to dial a consumer. I understand they're afraid. I understand they have dreams. I understand that they're trying to do their best. Can you provide a tip or maybe an idea about how I, as a collector, can communicate that? Am I just sort of saying those words, those phrases, or do you have any, another idea that might be more helpful?
Well, here is the great news about what's happening right now is there is a push towards empathy. And I love seeing that, because the truth is there's a lot of profit in empathy. You will collect a lot more from a consumer by letting them have that sigh of relief. Okay. By creating an ally and not an enemy, you're going to really get in the connection zone. You're going to get in the connection zone with that consumer. And the way that you can do that is to bring humanity back into the process. So if you've just listened to, a very uncomfortable story from a consumer, and they've shared things with you that is building you up for all the reasons why they can't pay that debt. And if you can respond with, that sounds really challenging. So many people are going through the same thing. So you are not alone. Now, you are not alone is the number one online marketing phrase for a reason. And what that means is online marketers know how to get your money. They know how to get you to open your pocketbook. They know how to relate to their customers the same way we should be relating to consumers. And so if you say those words, I promise you're going to get a lot less complaints. You're going to get a lot less angry, intense phone calls, and your collectors will be moving into that connection zone where they can motivate now the consumer to pay.
Profit and empathy. I love that. It's a great way to summarize today's conversation. Thanks again for joining us, Mary. We'll look forward to another conversation very soon.
Yay. Thank you, Mike.